Thanks for tuning in to Say What Now? Reddit Stories. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and don't forget to turn on those notifications. And now, on to the story of I, 24F, think my neighbor, 28M, might be stalking me. I'm not sure, and I want to ask here before I tell my husband, 32M, because I'm afraid how he might react. That's the title. I, 24F, live in a pretty close knit neighborhood. I'm a stay at home mom to a toddler and a boy who's in the first grade. My husband, 32M, works away from home and he's gone most of the day, sometimes overnight. I've begun noticing that the neighbor who lives on our left, who is 28M, around a lot more. I know he works from home, but I feel like I see him more whenever I'm outside with my kids. When I go to the grocery store, I notice him leaving as well, and then he pulls back at the same time as me. Whenever I come back from picking up my son from school, he's outside. I have a ring doorbell, and I have noticed when I go right from my kid's school to my house, which is about 20 minutes, he's only out for also 20 minutes. He'll go right in after I go in, but if I go somewhere else or take longer, he'll be out there until I come home and then he'll go back in. I feel kind of freaked out. I have always had fine interactions with him. He always waves and everything. He works as a programmer from home and he's never done anything bad. It's just how often I see him. I don't want to mention anything to my husband because he has a pretty short fuse, and I'm scared he'll flip out and go confront him or think I'm having an affair, something crazy like that. Am I just being paranoid, or does this seem like something I should mention? Update. I decided to tell my husband about it. I just said, "Hey, have you noticed Trevor outside a lot?" And he said no and asked me why, and I said, "Well, no reason. I just noticed him outside whenever I'm out there." And I wish I hadn't said anything. My husband immediately was like, "What do you mean noticing him? Why are you noticing him?" And I tried to drop it, but he kept pushing and kept pushing. So I eventually just told him basically what I wrote in my post, and he exploded and immediately went next door, even though I begged him not to. And he went to our neighbor's door, started pounding on it and yelling. Our neighbor came to the door and knew my husband was looking for a fight because he immediately was like, "You need to leave now." Obviously, my husband didn't leave, and it began a pretty serious verbal altercation, which turned physical. The police came and broke it up, telling my husband to go back home and stay away from the neighbor. As you can imagine, the entire thing was horrible. All of the neighbors were outside as we live in a pretty affluent, quiet neighborhood, so the police don't usually get called. When we got back in the house, my husband began yelling at me. He asked me if I was sleeping with the neighbor, why I had been asking about him, why the neighbor got so defensive, etc. He was so angry I didn't recognize him. He began hitting the walls and throwing things. When I tried to reason with him and tell him the situation, he began to get physical with me as well. After a while, I was able to call the police. They arrested him, and I had to stay at the hospital for a little bit. Right now, my kids and I have an order of protection against my husband. I have not seen nor talked to him since this happened. After I came home, I went over to the neighbor's house to apologize for what happened. He told me that he had known my husband was abusive and he could hear him yelling at me and the kids. He said that the reason he was outside often when the kids and I were outside as well is because he felt unsure about if he was abusive or not, physically, that is, and wasn't sure if he should say something. He said that he used the times to say hi to us to see if there were any bruises or signs of physical injury and to see if the kids seemed all right. I don't want to reconcile with my husband. My oldest son, who is 6, keeps asking why his father used his hands instead of his words. My 2-year-old keeps playing with her dolls and saying, "Daddy, don't do it, don't hit, don't hit," and it just makes me want to cry. They're both seeing therapists to help process all of this. Eventually, I will go see a therapist too. You never know who's watching out for you. I know a lot of times we move into areas and we try to just go on our daily lives and try to be to ourselves. But sometimes it is good to make friends with neighbors, and that's only because you just never know what could happen or what's going on and who is your angel in disguise. Because ultimately, it just sounds like he wanted to say something. The saying, see something, say something, is very real. But it sounds like he really wanted to say something, but he didn't want to make an accusation if it wasn't true. Because married people can have arguments, but to him, it must have sounded beyond volatile that he wanted to make sure that you all were okay, especially because you have little young kids in the house. That makes it even worse. I'm glad that she was able to get away from him, and hopefully she never actually goes back to him. What makes it worse is that the kids saw this. And it's not even like, oh, I just heard mommy and daddy fussing. Like, from the sounds of it, they saw it. And that's just horrible. No child should have to be put into that environment at all. Mm. That was a hard one, y'all. I've never read something like that before. But what do y'all think? Y'all think the neighbor should have spoke up sooner and said something and called someone sooner or called CPS, or what do y'all think? Comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.